NASCAR bans the slogan, "Let's go Brandon," from Brandon Brown's car. Bob Pockrass reports that LGB Coin has not been approved as a NASCAR sponsor and at this point will not be. Here's the tweet from Bob Pockrass. NASCAR has made the final decision that LGB Coin sponsorship for Brandon Brown is not an approved sponsorship to be on the car. Now, this comes on the heels of last week when this whole Brandon Brown thing became quite a controversy. And Adam Stern had a very interesting nugget on his Twitter account at the time. And that was that NASCAR has been eyeing banning political sponsorships. And if implemented, that could doom this presumed deal. And it appears that it has done. However, James Contoulis, who is the top dog over at the LGB Coin, posted some receipts. And those receipts are very interesting. These are emails that allege the approval of the sponsorship, like we talked about last week. The team, Brandon Built Motorsports, was convinced that the sponsor was approved. Then it wasn't, and that's where we got the controversy. So here are the emails. I'm sure you won't see this until next week. I've just received this from the team and want to get it in front of you for hopeful approval next week. I tried submitting via the paint scheme portal. However, there are no race events listed to select from. The attached paint scheme is being submitted for Daytona. Now, this is the submitted paint scheme that was sent to NASCAR, again, according to these receipts from the Let's Go Brandon side of this argument. And this was the response, the alleged response from NASCAR. Good morning, Mac. The sponsors are approved. The first 4 words of this statement, this alleged email, are the sponsors are approved. However, please clean up the markings around the number, especially the white stars touching the white number. 2022, we're really going to hone in on keeping the numbers clean per the rule book. Nothing within 2 inches should be touching the numbers. Blah, blah, blah. This is all talking about the numbers, not the sponsor, which is very, very interesting. Extremely interesting, in fact. Now, Bob Pockrass had some speculation on why he thinks the sponsorship was not approved. And this is also an interesting nugget right at the beginning of his tweet. NASCAR's position, from what I gather, because NASCAR is not putting out a statement. Very interesting communications decision here. It was never truly approved, says Pockrass in his own words, as he says in the tweet. His guess is that the application was listed as cryptocurrency, and the racing ops person who decided to okay those schemes over the holidays didn't realize the theme and needed to check with superiors. But again, if we're going off of the alleged email from the Let's Go Brandon people, that certainly didn't seem like what was going on there. I just got off the phone with my my camera guy, Kyle, and we were talking about actually our coverage plans for covering testing in Daytona next week. And this broke during our conversation. And as we talked, we kind of came to the same conclusion. Kyle said it to me first, though. What Kyle said to me is that this all seems very fishy. This is all very suspicious. And I agree. This is, my word would be not just suspicious, not just fishy. I would say inorganic. This doesn't feel like something that was just happenstance. This doesn't feel like something that happened randomly. This doesn't, I'll put it this way. This doesn't feel like a mistake, does it? This seems like there's a couple of possibilities, right? The first possibility is that the sponsor was approved. NASCAR saw the backlash to the sponsor and backtracked. The other possibility is they never intended on approving the sponsor, but they told the team that they approved the sponsor, and then when the team announced it, NASCAR was able to get a PR win and say, oh no, we didn't approve that, and it's not approved. Or there's always the possibility that NASCAR never had any intention of approving the sponsorship, didn't approve it, didn't give the team any kind of an indication, and all of this stuff that we've just seen is fabricated. I don't believe that's the case. I do believe that this Brandon Built Motorsports isn't necessarily lying or fabricating emails here. And that's where things get really messy. Is, who led who on, I guess, is the question, right? And like the conclusion I came to at the end of the last video, which was actually before Adam Stern tweeted out that NASCAR had been looking at banning political sponsorships outright, is that's the conclusion that I came to at the end of the video, is that this is more trouble than it's worth, and quite frankly, it should have been done last year. The political sponsorships should have been gone, and there's probably a point where they never should have been a thing in the first place. But of course, our politics haven't been as divisive as they have been in the past few years. And if you're trying to run a business, if you're trying to, sell to the general audience, which, as we know, NASCAR is very much about the general audience, you can't make a political stand. And you can't have your teams making political stands, because when they do, they alienate people. And, the problem is, I think what's happened here is NASCAR is ripping the Band-Aid off quickly. Regardless of what all led up to this, NASCAR has decided that this is the last straw. They're going to rip the Band-Aid off. And that Band-Aid, look at any NASCAR post, especially on social media like Facebook, Twitter. Look what you see. Do you see discussion about the next race? Do you see, unless there's like a fight or something, just a general NASCAR post, what do you see? You see people saying, well, they allowed this car and that car and this car and that. They're all talking about the political side of NASCAR and, who they hate and who they don't hate, and let's go Brandon and all this stuff. They say all of this stuff. It's all over the comment section on every NASCAR post. So NASCAR's brand, especially in the last year, has become intensely political. And if they are making the move that I think they are, and Adam Stern definitely thinks they are, is that it's really wise to start distancing yourself from it. Because I've said this about NASCAR. I think I said this probably toward the end of last year. To me, NASCAR needs to get out of politics, try to get away from the mainstream, even for just a year, and focus on the product. Focus on really getting a good on-track product that the people will enjoy, and rebuild the sport from there. To me, chasing the political high or chasing the mainstream high, when the only way you can get it is through these kind of controversies, I don't know, man. I don't think it's worth it. And I think it's a short-term gain, if you can even call it that, and a hell of a long-term loss. This is all very ridiculous at this point. It is escalated from the beginning of 2020 through 2020 and now into 2021. And I guess if NASCAR is just outright banning political sponsors across the board, yeah, it's a good idea. But ultimately, when we get to June and we start seeing some sponsors or some other, statements, I would be very interested to see if those are approved, because that's when the real controversy is going to start. You think this is a controversy now? Wait until NASCAR bans political sponsorships, and then one is perceived as a political sponsorship and is approved. That's going to be quite a mess. Yeah, we're January 4th, people. That we're not even 4 days into the year, and things are getting this crazy already. I've already made 2 videos in 1 day. First day I've made videos in 2022, and we're talking about all sorts of things. Oh well, I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, subscribe for more motorsport content. This has been David Land on YouTube. We'll see you in the next video. I would tell you to comment, but you've already commented, and it's going to be spicy, I'm sure.